I'm a Gemini, and so I think I'm a bit of a schizophrenic as well, um, as perhaps as Trump, because he's also a Gemini. So, not that I want to compare myself with him, but over a period of time, um, these went on parallelly. But there was a point in time at which, purely serendipitously, I uh, learned transcendental meditation. And that was at a time when I thought I was drinking too much. I didn't remember at the end of a party what I did the next morning. And people said I did this and that. And I didn't remember. Somewhere I read that you lost millions and probably billions of brain cells if that happened, binge drinking and so on and so forth. So I saw this sign with a bearded man who said, if you're suffering from this, I checked all the list, entire list, and I went there. And my goodness, at the end of 1 week, I couldn't touch a drop of liquor. Not that I had good liquor at that time. I was drinking country liquor and Feni and stuff like that in Mumbai those days. But and I gave up meat as well, and so that lasted about 40 years plus. So from about 24 to about 65. And the reason I started again, now I meditate better with a glass of wine and I eat anything from whatever, except octopi. And that was because then I lost faith in the fact that people who claim that they are celibates, that they are vegetarians, and for this, that, whatever it is, automatically they are somehow superior. And I found that to be a complete fake concept. So to cut a long story short, what happened was that in my career, I did extraordinarily well. I was with Hindustan Lever. I was positioned as an expatriate in some countries and came back, and I left. I was a CEO of a company in India, a couple of companies in a group in India. Went abroad. I helped build a multi-billion-dollar company in Indonesia. I was sitting on top of a pyramid, and suddenly at the age of about 450, everything collapsed. And I still had quite a bit of wealth, but I had no power, no position. And 1 year later, that was 2000, the dot-com bust, when I lost about 80% of my wealth as well. So I had always been interested in spirituality, meditation, and reading various other kinds of things. But finally, it sort of all came together, connected extraordinarily well. And I, fortuitously at that point in time, serendipitously, I attended a program in Vipassana for about 10 days at that point in time. And that's something happened, something really happened. And I truly, in a sense, realized myself, as it were. And people from time to time ask me, am I enlightened? I would honestly say, yes, I am. But so you are. Every one of you is. It's just that we are not aware that we are enlightened. And what we are trying to do is to try and make sure that every moment of the time that we are enlightened, it's not possible. We are not the Paramacharya of Kanchi or Ramana or Ramakrishna, who were always in that Sahaja Samadhi all the time. And we, what is called the Laukika, the worldly space of the earth, we have our feet firmly on the ground while we might have our heads in the spirits. And it is just that from time to time, we can recharge ourselves and get back into the space and operate. And when you feel that you are depleted, you go back into that space again. And that any one of you can do, and I can teach you to do that. That's not very difficult. Having said that, when this happened, it just that was, I already had someone who we followed, my grandfather, my father, and everybody did. He was a great guy. He was tremendous value to us. Somehow or other, I was looking for something beyond, and suddenly I met someone who was younger than my son, and literally sort of submitted myself to him and surrendered myself to him, which was a huge mistake. I only submit to all of you that don't ever do that. There's nobody human embodiment in body and mind who is, in any sense of the term, a divine person. So that I had to learn over a period of about 7 years. I followed him like a dog. And at some point in time, realized that person was an absolute crook and was not deserving of the stature of a guru. So there, my so-called, because he was trying to make me into a sannyasi, which I wasn't really keen to do. Fortunately for me, and because of my wife, it is mainly because of her, I managed to stay within that framework of some amount of intelligence and left him. And at that point in time, I was at crossroads, and I came across the second part of the question that you asked was that I tried many things. I tried to go back to the NGOs and so on and so forth, and they were just as bad as the gurus that I followed. And then suddenly I realized that corporate world is, despite all its whatever happened, it wasn't at least hypocrisy. If somebody said that I'm running my company because I want to earn money and this is what I am at, that's perfectly fine. At least they are being very honest. So that's when someone suggested, why don't you become a coach? I didn't even know what the word meant at that time. So I trained myself. I looked up a few things and went back and told my wife, see, this friend of ours who she knew well and respected, suggested that I become a coach. And she said, so what do you have to be a coach? And I said, the website says the ICF, International Coaching Federation, you've got to be a good listener. He said, you don't even listen to me. How the hell are you going to listen to other people? You're not going to be a coach. So I took that as a challenge and eventually became a coach. And accident, we started Kucharya, and it's been about 12, 13 years old. So that's a kind of a short story of a longish.
Very interesting. Thanks for sharing it with us. Another question, which is not a outcome of the AI, but the human intelligence. I remember you once saying that there was a point in time when you lost the fear of death. What did you exactly mean by that?
Okay, that's a bit more complex. I remember that you asked me about it at that point in time. It's not as great as it sounds, actually. If you haven't read that book, I would like you to, if possible, for you to look at a book called The Passages, written by a lady called Gail Sheehy. I read it when I was about 35, 40 years ago. It talks about people at different decades of their life. That's what she calls it, the passages, 20, 30, 40, 50. And later she wrote about 60s and 70s. And one of the things she says about the 20s is young people in their 20s, as are the Gen Zs today, they think they are immortal, invincible, highly idealistic, and they have no fear of anything, really. You talk to many of them, I've talked to many of them. Yeah, they at least they were. But today, of course, there is a lot of social media anxiety, fear of missing out, fear of losing out, FOMO, follow, and all that kind of stuff. But at least in the age that I grew up in, maybe 40, 50 years ago, many young people couldn't get a damn. They had no fear. And I was probably just one of them. And the fear of death in that sense didn't seem real. Death didn't seem real. So why are we talking about death, right? So probably that was there at the back of my mind. But as you grow up, you start getting out of that, right? Growing up is not getting wiser, it is getting more foolish. As children, we are far wiser than we are as old people. And yeah, surely at some point in time, all that starts. And that starts mainly because of greed. Fear and greed are mirror images. Fear is a shadow of greed. So the more you want, the more you're afraid that you're going to lose it. And probably the primal fear is that of death, which results in you're worried if something, the most worrisome thing is for most people, if I'm unable to breathe for some time, get my oxygen measurement. Am I at 92 and I should have been at 94? If that doesn't happen, what's going to happen, etc. I'm going to die. And that fear is the desire that you want to live, and your exhalation should be followed by an inhalation. Each breath that you have is a desire, and that's a desire to live. And that is what causes suffering, like Buddha says. And that's what causes a fear. Now, what if you can accept at some point in time, which is what I think happened to an extent to me when I had the Vipassana experience, and which sort of strengthened when I went to the Ramana Samadhi at Tiruvannamalai and sat there in the Samadhi. I couldn't move for about 4 hours. I was just frozen there. And suddenly something said, I mean, and many of you may know that Ramana's death experience at 16, and he deliberately put himself through this state of and dying. And later years, I practiced that meditation in terms of what is called the death meditation. And suddenly, hey presto, what the heck? It doesn't matter if you are breathing, if you're not breathing. I'm in acceptance. So the loss of fear, in a sense, instills in you an ability to sort of accept and accept in gratitude. So I'm not being light or humorous here or one of the woo kind of stuff, but the fact is, maybe even 10 years ago, it was different. It was gradually evolving, but about 10, 15 years ago, I got into this stage. I did my Vipassana 25 years ago, but it took some time for me to sort of anchor it. What's a point in asking for anything? Because earlier I used to follow, I still teach creative visualization and stuff like that, made famous by Shakti Gavin. I have a program called Create Your Future where I help people to visualize and achieve what they want. Many people have come back and said it works. But I can't do it. So the moment I start doing something like that, is that, what's the point? Are you really in need of something? What is it that you're in need of something? And so I just accept. And with my gratitude, I say, okay, whatever is the best that can happen, let it happen. So I think the whole thing is a bit of jumbled, absence of fear. And that's what I think is true sannyas, where you really, sannyasa in Sanskrit means it is one meaning of that word is to mean to burn yourself, and you're reborn. And so you burn all your desires and you are in complete surrender to the universe. It may seem strange, but like Santiago says in Alchemist, the universe conspires to make what you want happen. And that's absolutely true. I'll stop there.
Very insightful. And loss of fear leads you to express with gratitude and accept whatever comes to you. Now coming back to the topic of the session, where we're talking in terms of the awareness. So how does heightening of awareness may help coaches to emerge as better and more effective? And how would you propose and recommend the coaches can traverse that path of ascension?
Okay, I think the best way to do that would be through the demonstration I'm going to have with Alav. Now, I'll just give you a background, okay? Now, I talk a lot about Upanishads. I have written about the Upanishads. And in fact, I find AI to be a tremendously powerful medium to be able to expand on what I want to say about. So there's a book that Sandeep had referred to. It's called AI to AUM, AI to letter. And you can read it free on Kindle. Take a look at it. Now, the whole point is that in the Upanishads, if you look at them, going back to that fear of death and all that, the Kathopanishad teaches you that it is a teacher, that death is not an end, it's a beginning, it's a transition. And the Isavasya Upanishad, which I think is probably the origin of all the Upanishads, the oldest scripture in the world, it's the theory of relativity. The first verse of that, Isavasya Madam Sarvam, essentially means all that is matter is energy. And that's exactly the E equals MC squared. And Upanishads like the Ken Upanishads talk about what is that ultimate universe, how does that come about. And there's a very, very powerful Upanishad called the Mandukya Upanishad, which is what I would recommend all coaches read, is about the sound of creation in the biblical sense. The creation of the word is a word. In the Vedic philosophy, it's a sound. The sound is AUM, with a end silence, the bindu, bindu. A is awakening state, which is a mindful state. U is the dream state, subconscious state. Ma is the deep sleep, unconscious state. And the bindu is the fourth state, which the Western philosophy, Western psychology, Western science doesn't talk about as yet. It is a disengaged witnessing state. And that's a state today quantum science talks about as the observer effect, that you are just the witness. You are the, by being the observer, you are influencing things that are happening. So in one sense, this Upanishadic wisdom combined with quantum science philosophy, and in neurobiology today, we know, and this Vedic system had the definition of the mind 5,000 years ago, which modern neuroscience discovered just about 30 or 40 years ago. Till then, we thought mind and body were two separate things. But now we know that they are integrated and flowing together. And the Vedic science said there are four parts of the mind. The first part are the senses, which receive the information, the metadata. The second is the memory in the limbic brain, which stores it. The third is the emotional brain or the limbic brain, the hypothalamus, which amygdala, which sort of labels it as emotion, and then the frontal cortex, the intelligence. These are called the manas, the chitti, the ahankara, and the buddhi in the Sanskrit terminology. Those of you who might have some knowledge of the Nirvana Shadakam of Shankara, he talks about mano, buddhi, ahankara, chittani, these are four mind parts are described. Now, if you just understand that, even from a neurobiological point of view, the sensory inputs that you get are the primary metadata. They get corrupted in the limbic brain and labeled as emotions, the first level of corruption. At the second level of corruption is when it goes to the prefrontal cortex into cognition and thinking. So when you coach and you're exploring cognitively, which is what we do, all of us, right? Ask questions, okay? Why is it important? Why do you want to be where you want to be? What are your underlying beliefs and so on and so forth? Can you reframe it? And whatever way you want to do it, it's all cognitive. But what you're really working with is twice corrupted data. ICF, of course, says that it's important for you to look at the energy, emotions, etc. So you try to make some bit of this thing. So how do you feel? The coach thinks the coach is doing a great job by asking, instead of how do you think, how do you feel? But the client answers the same way. They only tell you about what they think. There's no way that they're going to tell you, because there's something that's happening out there where they want to present the best picture to you. Very rarely do they really open up and tell you what the truth is. I'm a crook. I'm a whatever. That doesn't happen. But instead, if a person is in a trauma, emotional turmoil, and if you ask the person, okay, just experience what you have experiencing right now, when you think about that, which is not making you sleep well, whatever it may be, what is it that you are sensing in your body at this point in time? And this can be done, and I discovered it later, because at that time I wasn't even thinking about it from that point of view. I was using more the chakra principles of energization. Process that I use follows the non-violent communication language of Rosenberg and clean language model of David Grove. Both of them are aligned to this particular process, and it's somatic intelligence. And if those of you who are familiar with Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, the most difficult intelligence out of those 8 or 9 or whatever numbers they were in the original one, the most difficult was what was called the intrapersonal intelligence, that is understanding yourself. And Dana Zohar and other people, when they developed a spiritual intelligence concept, the 12 principles and so on, it was that intrapersonal intelligence which was being expanded into those 12 principles. Now, I prefer to call the spiritual intelligence as energy intelligence, because at the end of the day, we are energy beings who are encased in mind, body, matter. And the best way for us to be able to understand that energy is by looking within and being able to scan in a way what you are experiencing at a point in time as a body energy. Unfortunately, in today's demo, I don't have the time to take you through. Normally, what I do in many of these cases is to do about 5-10 minutes of breath awareness meditation, body awareness meditation, and scanning. And you actually focus on a particular point of your body, and you're able to feel the vibrations, feel the experiences. And that is something I would strongly recommend that you do at some point in time. So today, what we are going to do as a demonstration, and what I would request is, as I am going through with Pallav in this particular case, Prasad, I don't know whether Pallav is your first name.
No, Prasad. Even I was confused. And
you can call me Prasad.
Prasad.
Prasad. Okay, fine. Prasad.
So it's over to Prasad and Ram for the demo session on the sensory energy awareness.
Yeah.
And Prasad has come forward and volunteered himself. And over to you, Ram and Pallav.
Yeah, just once again. So I'll just set this right, and then others can mute themselves if they wish. I mean, please mute yourself, not if you wish, but the camera, if you want to be on, that's fine. That's up to you. As I'm doing the process with Prasad, and it would be, I won't even be asking him, what is his problem? It's not necessary. And each of you, I would like you to think about something that is bugging you, that is keeping you awake at night, something which is not making you as efficient, as high potential as you could be. And then just go through the same process that I'm describing with him. So rather than just watching and intellectualizing as to what is happening out there, it is much better if you are able to experience what I'm working with him on for yourself. This is my submission. It's up to you. Okay, so now we'll start with Prasad. So any instructions, Sandeep? All of you, yeah, if you want to stay on camera, that's fine, but just mute yourself. Prasad, you be unmuted because you and I would need to communicate a bit, right? Sandeep, are we okay to go ahead?
Yeah, as we get immersed in this session, I just wanted to acknowledge once again that we have representation from as many as 16 countries and 50 cities, and which speaks in terms of your aura and our collaboration together along with the ICF Mumbai Charter Chapter. Thanking you once again. Now it is over to you, Ram.
And okay, let me at this stage say I'm truly privileged to be part of your group here, talking to you. And I think Sandeep and Chintan did an amazing job. In terms for 2 months, they've been working with me to try and elicit various pieces of information, the kind of work that they have done in terms of promoting this program. And I'm sure they do it with every other program. It's really, truly fantastic. You have an amazing group of people running the ICF Mumbai chapter. Thanks.
And thank you, Sandeep and ICF Mumbai chapter for giving me this opportunity to do this with Ram on the 10th anniversary. Thank you, Ram.
Yeah, Prasad, I will start with in any coaching kind of a stuff intervention. I would advise all of you to try this if you are comfortable with that. People come to you, a client comes to you in a disempowered state. They are in need of something. That's the reason why they come. They are not going to pay you hard cash if just for the heck of it. It's not a coffee table conversation. So the most important thing that needs to happen is to help them feel empowered. And using an NLP term, it's a concept of anchoring. So that's what I'm going to do with you first. So anchor you in a state. And then there's a kinesthetic anchor. Put your fingers together at that point in time. I'll explain to you as we go along. And so I'm just seeking permission from you with all this.
Sure.
So
Yep.
once you've anchored yourself at that point in time, after that, break the anchor. And then I'll inquire into whatever that you are dealing with. I don't need to know. You have given me some information, but I don't even I'm not looking at it. What I would be asking you to do is just to ask you, what is it that you would like to feel at the end of the session? Whatever that is that you would like to, qualitatively, quantitatively, whatever that you would like to do. And then we will go into the process, which is essentially, I would request you, with your permission, to look at the portion between your throat and your lower abdomen, the trunk area, and experience that which is bugging you, that particular experience. When you experience it, whatever is not serving you well, And then what is the bodily sensation that is coming up? Initially, you might have some issues. We will go through it step by step.
Okay.
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 So this is going to be the whole process. So you're going to do the hard work. I'm just going to watch the fun as also.
Yeah.
If there is an observer effect, maybe perhaps there is something there. So that's what it is. And roughly it should take about 20 to 25 minutes. And after that, you can share what you like and people can ask questions. Is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely okay.
Thank you. So let me start with, again, with your permission, with the empowerment anchoring exercise. So perhaps if you don't mind, just relax, close your eyes and sit with your hands on your laps for a few minutes. And to take a couple of deep breaths, inhale very deeply as deep from your navel as possible. Just hold that breath for a few seconds. Slowly exhale. Hold the breath for a few seconds. And now inhale. Just repeat this a few times, 2-3 times. All of you in the group, please, if you can, join Prasad in doing this. So now, Prasad, I would like you to visualize one of the most empowering, happiest, joyful moments of your life. When you felt that everything was going right, and visualize that almost like a mental image on a huge mind map. You are at the center of it, and there are people congratulating you, and you're experiencing it all senses. You are seeing it as a visual image. You may be hearing people talking, congratulating you. Somebody may be touching you, hugging you. Maybe you are eating something, drinking something, smelling something, all kinds of senses, let it be. A huge football field as large as you can make it feel, as colorful, as sensorily positive as you can. If you are able to do that, if you're able to visualize this, just raise your hand, right hand, slightly and let me know so that I can see on the screen that you are able to visualize this. Thank you. Now, as you are deeply visualizing this, put the first 2 fingers of both these hands together and press them together as hard as you can. Yeah, you can keep them on your lap. That's correct. Just keep them on your lap and press them as hard as together. And anchor this sensory feeling of this happiness, being in this joyful moment of empowered moment, deeply anchored within you, and stay there in that space at the height of this experience for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now you can relax, open your eyes, and just tell me, how was it for you?
I was just picturing myself, Ram, that moment which I visualized. And I could see people around me who are congratulating me for that big achievement or the big performance that I visualized for myself. And me smiling. That's what I was visualizing. I had forgotten everything else.
Okay.
And I was just present in that specific moment. Everything else was forgotten, is what I can say,
Okay.
right?
Later on, this will come back to you every time when you put your fingers together in this kind of a few deep breaths, sit like this, and whenever you want, you will come back to this empowered state. And that will take you out of any difficulties that you have. So practice this tonight, if you can, a few times, the same visualization exercise, and empower yourself. And you can use it for any purpose, unobtrusively, all that you have to do is with your hands in your pocket, you can put your fingers together,
Mm.
and you would be great. And this is a proven scientific technique in terms of kinesthetic anchoring. Okay, so now if you would like, just get up for a few seconds, move around, shake yourself, just change of position, and then come back and sit down if you can, please.
Okay.
Just a couple of seconds. Yeah, you can come back. Thank you. So now, before we get into the process, I just want you to tell me and the audience what you see as the outcome of this session. What would you like to happen? Don't go into the details of what you are going through, but just
Okay.
how you would like to be at the end of it.
I would like to feel more peaceful and at the same time confident about myself.
Okay.
That's the feeling that I would like to.
And when that happens, how would you be able to sort of, for yourself, evidence that it's happening, that peace, confidence?
So I don't know whether I will be able to tell you by the end of that session, but what I want to experience is, and I'm okay to share something more. I know you.
No, I do not. I do not want the context. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So I just want to feel warm in my body, my hands, my legs.
Okay. So you will know when that happens that you are now free of whatever that is disempowering you.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So just keep that in mind. And now it's up to you whether you would like to close your eyes. Sometimes it depends upon, you might be able to sense within your body. Whatever that particular experience which is taking you away from that peace and confidence, whatever else that is happening, when that happens, whatever that you are experiencing, whatever is triggering, whatever it may be, so if you can just re-experience that, go into that state where you're experiencing it, take your time, and then tell me, where in your body are you sensing this experience? I do not want your thoughts or your emotions. Just tell me, what is it that you're feeling anywhere between your throat and your lower abdomen in the trunk space? If you're feeling something, what does it feel like?
Light. Can hear some heartbeats the way I feel right now. I can hear some of my heartbeats. I can feel them.
Okay. Is that heartbeat not the normal heartbeat? Is it different in some way that now that you are able to sense it? What is different about it?
I would say normal, nothing unusual at this point.
But when you talked about something which was bothering you, and when you experienced it. At that point in time, you had certain bodily experiences. And if you are re-experiencing them now, so that's not showing up, or is it that you are not fully being able to re-experience that state?
That's not, I'm not able to fully re-experience that state right now. I have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can it be any other experience that otherwise probably in some way you feel is causing this, an incident, a trigger? Is it possible for you to experience this and then see whether that makes a difference? If at this particular point in time, this particular experience that you thought was something that was causing you some difficulties, you are not able to experience, or it's no longer having that effect that it had on you before. Is there anything else that could be working on you that could become a source of discomfort for you? Somebody asked a question, can it be in the face? Yes, it can be. But usually what happens is the moment you start having it in your face, it might go into your top of the mind. So it becomes more cognitive. So that if it is happening in the trunk, it has got a lot more to do with a real sensory experience in your energy centers.
Ram, now I'm slightly trying to experience even more consciously about what you said. I would say a slight heaviness in the heart.
Okay. So just focus on that heaviness, experience that heaviness as you re-experience whatever that you're experiencing. Let me know a little bit more about it. Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? In what way does it feel heavy, like a solid object? Is it some other form of heaviness? Can you describe it a little bit?
I saw purple color, a purple dot suddenly when you asked that question.
Okay.
And then it went off. That's one thing which I saw, but
And as you're observing it, that purple dot, though it went off, that overall feeling of heaviness, is it still there with you? Is it decreasing? Is it spreading? Moving up and down or sideways or whatever it is happening?
still there.
Yeah. Is it getting heavier? Is it spreading? Is it stationary? Is it moving?
I would say slightly getting a little bit lighter, I would say, not as heavy as I felt when I first told you.
Okay. So if you can take a deep breath and exhale powerfully through the mouth, like that, a few times. How do you sense that heaviness in your heart space now?
even more lighter.
Okay. It's not fully gone.
Gone now, but more, I mean, much lighter than when it started.
So if earlier you were to use a scale of 10, give it a number when it was heavy, and now it is lighter, what would you put them as? What was
Earlier it was 7. Now I would say it is around 3 or 2 somewhere.
Okay. So are you comfortable with this 3 or 2, or would it want it to be lighter than this?
I'd like to feel even more lighter.
Okay. So can you do this same breathing exercise, inhaling deep and exhaling a couple of times, observing your heart space? Just do it twice, thrice, maybe. Very powerfully exhaling.
This is even more lighter. I would say 1 instead of 1 now.
So you are comfortable with that?
Yeah. This is much comfortable compared to how I was feeling when we started.
If you again scan your trunk space, is there anything else where this heaviness might have gone to? Is there any other place where you feel anything that is different from normal?
Thing that I can speak
Okay.
it.
Good. So now if you could just put your fingers together, the anchor back, just take a few gentle deep breathing, in, out, in, hold, out, hold. And then just allow that same experience that you had when you earlier experienced that joyful moment, happy moment. Allow that to come back into your mind space. And once you're able to do that with your thing, just nod your head if you're able to experience that. You are able to experience it. Okay. Slowly relax and open your eyes. And at this point in time, you said at the end of it, you will have some indication in your body of your feeling more of peace and confidence. Is that manifesting, or how do you feel about it?
I would say I'm feeling a bit relaxed right now. I wouldn't say peace and confidence, because what I'm thinking while I'm saying this is, next time when I have that similar experience which I had, which I wanted to get away from, I think that's when I would probably get to know it even more better. But currently I'm feeling more relaxed.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
So when this disempowering experience happens to you and makes you not feel good, is there a trigger to it that makes it happen, or it just happens on its own?
There is a trigger. There is a trigger when this happens.
Okay. So you are aware that this trigger is likely to happen. As a result, you might experience this.
Yes.
So at that point in time, if you could try putting your fingers together and
Right.
experience this. But before that, please do this anchoring exercise a few times, the empowering anchoring. And then do let me know. At least there's anchoring on a regular basis for the next 15 days, if you can just do that.
Okay. Yeah.
And at any point in time, if that trigger happens, what happens?
Sure.
And if you are still continuing with that negative experience, or you are now able to overcome it and be in peace and confidence. So please, you can just drop me a line at Ram at Kocharia. You can call me anytime.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you very, very much, Prasad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Ram. I think can I share something?
Yeah, please.
So, two things that that I found quite impactful while we were doing this exercise. One is when the first time when you asked me to press these two fingers tightly and imagine, I think that was a very, I would say, a very powerful experience that I had. And then when I breathed in powerfully and then exhaled once again very powerfully, I think those were the two moments where I felt quite relaxed and quite peaceful, I would say, exactly at those two moments. And I think what you said right now, continuing to practice, because I know this can't be just one time. It needs to be practiced. All right. So
So
that's what I wanted to share.
thank you. So you have a tool or a technique or a process in your hand. You are in control of that. Just, it's like any kind of a meditative practice or breathing exercise or anything. Just do that. And then, but certainly keep me informed if there is anything, if for some reason that you have a recurrence and you're not able to handle it, I'll certainly work with you on this. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Generally, before I invite questions from any of you, this is extremely useful in multiple kind of emotional stresses, not necessarily what might be called traumas. It can be used there as well. I found it to be very useful when people are suffering from invalidation. And usually it is triggered by something. One way I could have done that was to take it deeper and ask Prasad to explain about this trigger. That's another alternative. If that doesn't work, go into that state of a trigger, what's happening at that point in time, that can happen. And invalidating, and therefore in presence of some people, they lose their confidence and they become nervous, those kind of things. And just taking through this exercise and putting your hands in your pocket and just doing this, it makes a difference. I've experienced that with many people. Another major area that I have worked with this is people suffering from grief for a long time, especially loss of someone and a loved one. And it is true that if you, like, for example, Kubler-Ross philosophy, if you go by that, it is true that over time, the grief ameliorates, and from a denial and bargaining and anger and so on into finally a depression and acceptance, you come to a state where you might be all right over a period of time, you can accelerate it. But then unfortunately, what happens is, which is not taken care of in the Kubler-Ross model, I found in my experience that very often grief is linked with guilt. I could have done something to prevent that from happening. Even if it's a 90-year-old person who died, your parents or grandparents or somebody, I could have done something. So that guilt stays with you. And it's like a hard rock. And as a result, why you think that you may have gotten out of the grief, you haven't gotten out of that guilt. And therefore, this process I have found is extraordinarily powerful in terms of removing that guilt. And just to give you an idea, I don't want you to, there's no need to diagnose a client, but just for your own understanding. For instance, if there is a heaviness that you feel, that heaviness is usually, if it is in the heart area, it's just to do something to do with a relationship often. And that relationship is an emotional relationship. If it is a cognitive one being invalidated, it usually will throw up in the throat area and then descend as you go into the, and deeper down, it becomes more gross in the sense that if you have guilt, shame, regret, and those kind of things, then that will show up below your navel, deeper in your abdomen. So whenever I work with people who are suffering from guilt, they would start somewhere in the heart space as a relational issue. And gradually, when they do the blowing out and all that stuff, if I ask them to relook at it, they will say, oh, no, I'm feeling the heaviness in my navel area or my abdomen. And then we work on that. And I'm not doing this as a boasting or exaggeration. I have worked with people who for 25 years have been in therapy, working with them for about 45 minutes, and then they repeating it by themselves and maybe one more session. They've never had this problem again. And I mean, I could bring those people as testimonials. But if any of you is having that kind of a problem, please try it out. It's really extraordinarily powerful to do that. And the whole idea of my propagating this is for two things. One is that it is possible through a somatic, which is also ontological because you're really going into your being state and energy and expressing it. You are able to resolve many of the issues that you have in a healing mode, self-healing. You don't even need another person. You can start practicing on your own. And the second is that even if you're working with somebody, as I did now with Prasad, I don't need any context. The confidentiality is built in. He hasn't told me anything about what he is experiencing. I don't need to be a voyeur. If you go through any kind of a coaching experience, and I'm an assessor, MCC assessor, I have assessed over 1,000 assessments. It's always about probing, understanding. So the coach becomes a voyeur. What for? It's not necessary. The entire CC3 that we talk about, we don't have to go into context if you're going to use this process. You need to go into context if you want to use a cognitive process or a cognitive emotional process. But if you're using a somatic process, you don't need to. And which leads to a third thing. Believe you me, if any of you have experienced using chatbot or Cloud AI, it can carry on a conversation with you on a chatting mode just as good as any master coach. And in fact, many people feel far better with a disembodied kind of voice of AI than with the individual. And earlier it used to be said it's because people are, autistic. But the trouble is almost all of us are autistic. We are all in some part of the spectrum. Okay. So there's a point at which while you may crib and complain about disembodied voices coming out and then not answering your questions, but in a coaching mode, it seems strange that a disembodied voice is able to resolve your problem better. But one space where AI cannot help, AI can do it cognitively, extraordinarily well, far better than any human can. Let's accept that. It's truth. It can do it not as well with emotion, but when it comes to a somatic ontological experience, that is where we as humans have our advantage. And the somatic experience, I don't think is going to be replicated by AI for a long, long time, if at all. Okay, so now over to you guys. Any of you have any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer that. We have about 20 odd minutes.
Thank you so much, Ram, for such an enlightening experiential sharing, which will benefit us and all for the self-healing as well as for addressing our clients more effectively, helping them come out of the trauma. I will request Dr. Chintan now to take over for the question answer. In case if there are any in the chat box, or else we can continue with our rapid fire round.
Sure. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you so much, Ram, for this insightful and a very, very different approach to coaching. I'm sure there are many right now amongst this 100-odd people on the call who are looking at this coaching from a very, very different lens, looking at this experience that they have gone themselves through from a very different lens. So there are a few questions in the chat box. I've received few on personal chat as well. So let me begin with your permission. Let me begin. So as we talk about integration of the sensory and the somatic experience, how should the coach prepare for their own journey, and how can they help their clients prepare to walk through this journey themselves, like alongside them?
Yeah, Chindan, that's a great question. My own experience as a master coach, as well as a supervisor and an assessor, what I find is 90% of coaches use a cognitive approach, and at least 80% of the coaches have serious baggages, and they haven't healed themselves. And yet, we as coaches, we feel, and I'm talking about master coaches, and I've supervised a number of MCCs, because in Coach area we have trained probably almost about 500 people to at least better mastery programs, some of them, most of them credentialed. If you haven't cleared your own baggage that you have, conscious, unconscious, limiting beliefs, all kinds of stuff, how are we competent to go and say that we are going to help other people remove their limiting beliefs when we ourselves are suffering from invalidation or grief, or whatever it may be? I mean, we have to really put our hands on our hearts and question that. This is what happened to me when I got into this space. Where am I at? And I had to do a lot of work on myself. And I had to go through techniques like Ho'oponopono, multiple other techniques, chakra energization, and so on and so forth, to dredge out. And one of the, I'm slightly digressing. Many people sort of say, oh, meditation, it's a panacea. It's not. If you're truly honest, anyone who has started meditating will know that it's one of the most torturous experiences, because all the garbage comes out of you. Early days when I started meditating, for the first 6 months, it was a horrible experience. And all that had to come out before gradually I got into a space where I was able to sort of look at them in a different way. So if someone is wanting to experience bliss in 5 seconds of meditation and mindful meditation and all that nonsense, it doesn't happen. It's not true. It's not authentic. It's all fake. So my request is what you're saying now, first work on yourself. Your basic coaching philosophy is good enough. Okay, what is it I'm looking at? What is it that I'm feeling now? Why is it important that I let go of that? What could be underneath? And since you are with yourself, you don't have to carry on a cognitive dialogue, but instead now go into yourself and re-experience that experience. We call it reliving to relieve. You relive that experience so that you relieve the traumas of that experience. And I can take any one of you, I can guarantee you that you will feel relieved. And this is possible for you to do it yourself. Once you have done it yourself and experienced it, then and only then look at working with other people, not before. So do that self part of it first, and then move into doing it with other people. And one of the things, which is why we usually use 3 pillars in terms of the Kocharya approach. First is a self-coaching. Second, we call it as a systemic coaching. Not just coaching other people, but also at the same time, looking at not just themselves or even ourselves, but a larger group of maybe people we are working with as family or team or whatever it may be, who are impacting you and who you are impacting. So it's not just, yeah, I want a transfer and I'm feeling bad I'm not getting a transfer. My boss is a useless idiot. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about. But have you thought about how that transfer that you are wanting, for whatever reason you are, first of all, what is that importance is? But how is it going to affect the rest of your family? I mean, if I were to think back on my own career, every 2-3 years I was shifted, and my wife accompanied me without complaining, and I had to drag my children. The education got spoiled. Did I ever think about those kind of things when I took these decisions? Do we? So can we look at it systemically, not just my own selfish agenda, The third is when you get into that process, the self to systemic, it becomes spiritual. And you start realizing that there is a lot more to it than just the cognition and the emotion. There is the energy within you, and you start adopting the somatic process. So I would put this in these three buckets, and starting with the self-coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ram.
Chintan, sorry for the intervention. There's a need to celebrate this first webinar in our series of 10th anniversary celebration. So if I may request everyone to switch on their camera, and Nandini, if you can click some photographs for everyone's memory. This is, we still have more than 100, about 100 participants even at this hour, while the IPL is about to start. So kudos to you. And Nandini, please, a big smile on everyone's face. Ram, in any case, has got a smiling one. Nandini, let us know when it is over.
One more.
Click as many as possible.
One more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep. So Ram, there are a few comments and questions, and I'll
Done. Thank you.
pick up something from the chat now. So Lata was curious what the purple life could signify when Prasad saw it during the exercise. Lata also mentions that purple is usually a reflection of Saharsa Chakra and uplifting, and we were focusing on more on the throat and below. So any connections you'd also mentioned the Upanishads, like in any context, any relevance to the ancient science here?
Chintan, I have no clue.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe Prasad was getting enlightened at that point in time. So his Sahasrara came into your Anahata. I don't have a clue about it. That's why I'm saying that don't diagnose. And if you're familiar with the nonviolent communication model of Rosenberg, it's about observations, feelings, whatever needs, requests, etc. So what you're really observing as what is happening there, the feelings, I would replace it with sensations. Doesn't matter what it is. Even what I'm giving you as a guidance, that the heart means relationships and so on and so forth. You have to go into much more detail, and you need to have certain experiences of your own to be able to diagnose it. But that's not important. Why do you want to diagnose? Why do you want to even understand what that purple means? And the purple is a Sahasraric thing, is BS. In the traditional lore, and if you go to the original chakra, whatever it is called, the verses, John Woodruff and other people had written about it. It's a lotus, multicolored, splendorous lotus of 1,000 petals and so on and so forth, of indeterminate color, and Agnya is slightly grayish, whitish, whatever. But I've had people, oh, I saw green in my heart and I saw blue in my heart. Okay, fine, celebrate it. But if you saw red also, that's all right, fine. It's okay. What matters is what is the sensation that you have? What is the thing of it? It's not about the color. I know there are, especially Western authors, New Age people, they have written about colors and glorious terms, and this color means something. Honestly, it's rubbish. And it's not true. It's very, very personal. You can have any blessed color that you want, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely. Ramdev, we've had few people express their own feeling. Like Rosella talked about having that weight like a brick in her stomach, and Anuradha shared about the grief in the chat. So how can one confirm if they're still caring, and has it gone? What can be the practice that our coaches can adopt? And this is in context of finding ourselves in that spiritual space.
See, I mean, if people have problems, specific problems, they are going away, they are welcome to write to me, ram@kucharya.com, and I'll be able to. And I mean, to the time that my time permits, I can try and help them in some way. But essentially, it means, supposing, let's say it's grief, and I've lost someone that I dearly love. If it's just ordinary grief, just a kind of cognitive kind of realization that everybody has to die and life is impermanent, and maybe they are in a better place if you believe in reincarnation and so on and so forth. That itself will solve the problem by and large. It may take some time. You might go through certain processes because of your emotional connect with that person. The first time I realized that was when I was going through my monkish journey. When I used to go to various parts of the world and I used to do these meditation programs. Was in Taipei, where there was this Chinese lady Buddhist, and many of them, I had to work through an interpreter. Most of them didn't speak English. And there was this lady who came the day before, and she said that she had a bit of a problem, that she and her husband had gone to India on a pilgrimage. They were Buddhists, and both there. And I wasn't surprised that he got some stomach bug and he died. Okay. And so she felt that she was the one who was responsible for it, and she was wearing black on that day. And she said, "I'm terribly depressed and I'm in grief, etc., etc." At that time, I didn't know all this process that well, but I was using it from a chakra energization point of view. And the next day, there was a particular different, the 2-day session. The first day, I ended with going through the whole issue of grief, for example, and which is essentially a Swadhisthana Mooladhara kind of experience there. The next day, when I came and we started the session, I didn't see this lady, or I couldn't locate her. After a while, I asked the translator, "Where is this lady?" And we were at a break, and then she showed me someone. There was this lady, the same woman. I couldn't just recognize her. She was wearing a summery spring kind of flowery dress, absolutely smiling, laughing, and everything. And so I asked the translator, "Can you just ask her when we start the next session to tell me what really made this change? Yesterday she was in black and she was really depressed, and now she's okay." She said, "My guilt went away." And you took me through this meditation and I Swadhisthana Mooladhara. I don't want to go into the details for those. Those are very powerful meditations. And as a result, now over a period of time, as I worked on it, and this is what I was able to reduce it to, that today, without going into any of those really, you can still if you wish to, but just going into your sensation as you experience that loss of that person and what it causes you. Eventually, you will start probably with something in the heart because it's relationship oriented, heaviness. Take a deep breath, blow it out like Prasad did, and he said he felt better, and so on. And it'll eventually try and rest on your stomach area. It'll feel like a hard rock, stone, whatever it is. And as you keep observing it and doing this, I've suddenly seen people saying that, "Look, it's a grayish mass, horrible looking, this, that, whatever." And suddenly they'll say, "Hey, you know what? I see suddenly a spot of green there. Something is sprouting out there." And what I'm talking about, real experiences. And suddenly that whole, this thing shifts, the energy shifts. And within 30, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, they are able to get out of it. And then, of course, they have to practice over a period of time for the next 15 days, and it solves their problem. So I would request all of you to try first, always do the empowering exercise first, and then go into the state that is making you disempowered. And as you first feel it, wherever you're feeling it, which is why I say don't look at the face or the head, because they are often cognitive, or the limbs, etc. This space is really where the energy experience lies. And then if you feel heavy, like Prasad did, take a deep breath, exhale through the mouth a few times. Gradually that will reduce. And then you again scan and see, has it shifted elsewhere, and then keep repeating the process.
Ram, so we are 6 minutes to 7:30. What time would you like to have hard stop? Because everyone would like to have more of you, and it can go on for hours together till tomorrow morning. The way when I have not seen anyone dropping out, which speaks in terms of how glued people are to what you are sharing. So, what we can do, we can have this channel available where we can collate and share these questions with you. So how would you like to go about?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you have to respect your framework, and it's 1.5 hours. People come expecting 1.5 hours, so let's keep that way. Whenever you would like to start closing, please do. All I would offer is this one. It can come through you, ram@kocharia.com. Simple enough for you. You can write to me, and I'll be happy to respond. I promise I'll respond. To what extent I can help, I do not know. I'll try. If at any point in time, if you want a sequel to it at some point in time, and if there are people interested, and maybe if it's the same kind of bunch of people and they want to take it to a next level in terms of some deeper kind of work, yes, I can do that as well. So I leave it to you. But today, let's close at whatever time you had scheduled to close.
May I now invite our president of the chapter, Sanjeev Bhatia. Sanjeev, you are there?
Yeah, I'm there.
And I'll also request Nandini to please share on the screen the humble appreciation which we would like to share it with Ram for such an insightful session, for sharing his wisdom so generously with all. And Sanjeev, let me once again share that there are participants from all across 5 continents, 50 cities, 16 countries, and all the 7 chapters in the country are very well represented. So over to you now.
Thanks, Sandeep and Ram. It's been our honor to have you here in the session. And I'm not saying for the sake of saying. This certificate of appreciation goes from all of us. It means a lot to give someone like you. Now, Ram, I think it's one of the rare sessions, to be honest, when I could see how coaching has been connected so deeply with the ancient times wisdom. And especially it's not the words, it's the kind of experiential sharing what you did right now. You exhibited through Prashad. I think there are many more who would like to listen to you in future, including me personally. And I will look forward to have many more sessions like you in a different dimension, different aspects. Yes, there's something we also learned on the surface level and the deeper level, very, very distinctly here. There are many of people who would like to get into this approach. As a sincere coach, all of us would like to learn different dimension to get benefited first to ourselves and then to the rest of the world. We all are in a common mission. We are at different stages of journey, but yes, collectively we feel that we are walking in the same direction, and the people like you are always there to inspire others to follow. Thank you very much once again for being with us. We definitely would like to have more session, insightful session for our own personal learning and hence to the giving to the rest of the world. Thank you very much, Ram. Thanks a lot.
Ram, thanks once again. May I request everyone to have a word storm for Ram. One word which you have felt during the session, please put in the chat box for our records.
Okay, while you're at it, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, Chintan. Thanks, Prasad, Nandini, and all of you who've been here patiently listening to what I had to say. And very best 10th anniversary celebrations for the Mumbai chapter. You guys are doing a great job. And as I said, I would be more than happy at any point in time to come back and be with you guys. Thanks. Thank you very much indeed. Bye. Take care.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot, Ram.
thank you, Ram.
Thank you.
Thanks
Ram.
once again.
Thank you.
And
Bye.
we,
Thank you.
we will be in
Bye.
touch, and I'll share the calendar so that we can collaborate for many more such sessions and
Yeah.
Thank you.
activities.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir. Thank you,
Thank
Ram,
you.
once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prasad. Thank you so much,
Prasad.
Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad, for volunteering.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.